I'll pick up your.
We got an extra seat over here for you.
Okay, today is December 17th, 2018, for our regular council meeting at 6:30 p.m. for the Village of Stryker. Mr. Woodall is unable to make it today, and that's him coming. So let's stand and I'll pray. Father in heaven, we thank you so much that we can come together as community members where we can discuss the business of the village. Father, I pray that we go through tonight and we have open minds, and Father, that we're able to discuss the conditions of the village today and further moving forward. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
And then tonight leading us in the pledge is Navy SEAL, Mr. Bob Hildebrand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Puts us into roll call.
Levin? Oberlin? Tompkins?
Yes.
Armstrong?
Yes.
Cameron?
Yes.
Benner?
Yes.
Okay, just as a reminder, Brooke will be coming. He is tied up, but he will be coming here shortly, so he'll be coming in and not missing the whole meeting. Lead us into citizens, which we got, I believe, the trustees and a couple reps.
Yeah.
So the floor is yours for right now.
Okay, just recapping last meeting, we left a letter for you guys to look over and just coming back to see if you have any questions, or brought a couple council members that was on the council at that time, and if you got any questions, ask them what happened or why it happened or whatever, but I guess that's all I was after, to answer any questions.
Now's an opportunity, if you guys have questions for one of the trustees, they're here. You also have two former council members that were on at the time, which you can see that from everything that we passed out before. If you have some questions, feel free to ask. You have any?
I think it's been covered.
Okay. And did you have any, Lee?
Not at this time.
Okay. I have one, and this would just be, I guess, more for, I don't know if they were in with some of the mediation that we had.
Yeah, they were.
Has that been, what's the process on that right now, or what's the status of that?
And I think that's over with, yeah, that's,
So you guys have declined that one, that last offer?
yes,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
I don't know, I guess. Do you guys have anything you want to add to?
I mean, I do. I can't understand why there's such a turmoil here between the village and the township. I mean, we're only a community of what, 3,000 people? And we made an agreement back in 2010 or 2011 that,
Was that through ordinance? What agreement are you specifically speaking of?
as far as funding the fire department, the building.
What I see in ordinance, and I'm going just off of what is on legal record through ordinance, there was discussion, there was an agreement passed out, and then a couple months later it was voted on, and you, as well as Joan, both voted no. It was supposed to come back, but it did not come back. And I can share that documentation if you'd like.
Well, I mean, at that time, the reason we voted no, I know we voted no because there was no money. And I know it was our understanding, because I brought it up as far as making a payment plan of 4 years, of $50,000 a year to get this paid off.
I have a question. Where were you going to pay the money out of? Because I went back to 2011, even though the mediator only asked for 3 years. I went back to 2011, and there wasn't money to gift, you'd have to have it in your general fund.
Right, we
You
understood that.
had it in your capital projects. To give money out of capital projects, you would have to have ownership. And my understanding was the township didn't want to give any ownership. So where would you?
I want to jump in on that one. I'm not sure it was completely township. I'm gonna stick up on your side here. I think it was also it was either the seller, there was something in there.
Yeah, Harley wasn't gonna sell to Gary, so, yeah.
So
It wasn't just you guys saying no.
No.
So I believe it was never brought back because you couldn't take the money out of that fund without having ownership. You can only do it from the general fund, and we have never had money to just give out of our general fund. In fact, I can show you, they've ran like 80,000 negative up until the last 2 years. So it's not that we don't want to give money, we don't have money to give
Dan,
without putting.
I understand that too, Beth,
Mhm.
but back when we was on council, okay, we had Alan, we had Wes, and we had Mike on our payroll as village employees.
Mhm,
Okay, now we had Gary's salary on there too.
mhm,
And we all know what everybody makes.
mhm,
Now, Alan is working for the village as the administrator and also as the worker.
yeah.
Now, I don't care what his salary is,
Mhm.
if he got bumped up to what Gary's
Mhm.
making,
We
or
didn't go
whether
close
he
to
got a
same
little
money.
bit of an increase, it's none of my business. But I'm saying, there's gotta be at least half of what Gary's income is, that should be in the budget.
have
And
you
No.
you
requested?
ran how
Hang on,
many years negative?
Hey Beth, hang on. We have all of those financials available, if you'd like to look at them. And like you said, just the last 2 years is when we have not ran in the red. So we're to the positive the last 2 years. You are more than welcome to come up and look at those to see where it's at. Because we could tell you, but it might be easier if you've seen it.
Oh, I understand
So,
that.
so it is 100% available, and that is for anyone to look at, if you'd like.
I'm not hiding anything.
Well, no,
I gave it all,
I
I gave it all,
believe
I gave it all to the mediator, I gave him more than what he asked for to prove my point. We ran several years here, past administration, with the general fund being in the negative. And in 2015, we put on a ballot to move the 0.5% to the general fund because we could not afford 24-hour police coverage. So if the village is to give money away, then will you vote for millage when we need it? The money that we gained in sewer and capital projects when we paid that loan off and when Gary retired.
Right.
We moved the capital projects to the general fund. We were negative 80,000. I moved to 88,000. Do the math. That's what I showed. We have not, there's not millions, there's a misconception that we gained millions of dollars and we have millions of dollars in a pot of money sitting there. That's totally
No, that's-
untrue.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean,
That's-
we were on council long enough that we know where we were at.
Well, your general fund was negative for several years while you were on council.
Because that's why, when we were sitting on council, we decided that would be best for the village, for all of us to take a pay cut, to reduce the pay for the mayor, just to try to get to balance things.
And is that when that happened?
Yes.
When the reduction happened? Because currently, council makes 1,000 a year, and the mayor makes 15.
Right,
So there is no other benefits
Right,
beyond
right.
that.
and before, the mayor made 5,000 and we made 2,000. And we decided for the best of the village, because we were just about out of money, that we voted to everybody cut their pay in half.
And that was a great move.
And that's why you're at where you're at today.
As far as the wage wise, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that was a smart move. That was a smart move.
But there's still expenses that we are dictated to pay out of the general fund. We are dictated to provide police protection out of the general fund, or police department.
And I will say,
Streetlights.
and I'll jump in with the police department. I know for years upon years, there was one police officer that they covered everything.
Right.
However, in today's world, I'm not comfortable with that, and that's one of the things that I am gonna push for it, and Steve knows it. We've had some interesting conversations where I want the coverage. Not just for me, but for anyone, because I look at it as a insurance policy, because they're only as important if they can get there. If they can get to the scene or get to help somebody, that's when they're extremely important, but we never know when that happens. So I push very hard for 24-hour coverage, and Steve could probably tell you that as well, that I push for that. I don't like it if there's a gap.
Well, I understand that, because
And
we
it's-
were all for that too, but at the time, we
Couldn't
didn't have
do
the
it.
money to
Couldn't
do it.
So I want to clear one thing that you did say, because I don't read it in the minutes, but I just want to double check. You said that ordinance was turned down because you didn't have the finances. On here, it talks about some ending and start dates. Was finances also in on that as well?
Finances. It was finances, we didn't have money.
Okay. Because in the minutes, Councilman St. John voiced concern over the contract because there was no mention of a start or ending date in regards to the timing and implementation of the agreement.
That would have been false.
Correct, Paul St. John.
Right.
But that's the reason it states in the minutes why it was turned down, not because there wasn't money. That's why it was just clarifying, since you're both here. I mean, hopefully you,
Well, it's to the village advantage that they now have that building to use. And
correct.
it's the community's advantage that we have a good place for the fire department, because if we don't have a fire department, everybody's insurance is gonna go crazy.
Correct. Do you
And I
know?
just don't understand why we can't work something out.
Here's one of the things that I'm very concerned about. Do you know what millage the residents of Stryker pay for fire protection? 2 mil. So we pay 2 mil. If you live inside the village, you pay 2 mil. Do you know what it is for the ones in Springfield Township outside of the village limits? 2 mil. So we pay the exact same that someone outside of the village pays. It's a tax, it's based on, it's a flat tax, so it's based on what you own. Okay? So right now, what's being asked, and you guys talked about, I was part of it too when I sat on council, was the village residents paying more. Now, don't look at dollar amounts, look at more, because we pay the exact same percentage or millage that others do. That one, that's in the recorder's office as well. You can look any of that up, and you can see that as well. So that's one of the concerns also. Do I agree we need a great fire department? Yes, 100% yes. The village has went through, and I think the firemen here, as well as Steve, would say that yes, the village does help right now. They get free water, they get free trash, they get the sewer, they get a free internet, as well as we put a hydrant inside the building. I don't know anyone else who has that. I was part of that, voting yes, let's do something. So does the village work with the fire department? I would say, yeah, we do. Yes, we do. Just like Beth is saying, we still don't have money. And I will be honest, I struggle to say, yes, village should pay money. I struggle with that. Because that means we're paying more for the service we've already paid for. The
I know.
building here was the village's.
I know I have 5 acres in the village, and I'm probably paying a lot more taxes than some farmers with small farms are, because I'm in the village and I'm paying a different rate.
2 mil. For fire
No,
protection,
no,
it's
no,
2
I
mil.
don't mean fire protection,
Oh,
I mean
okay.
taxes. But I just think that after all this time, I don't care, I don't wanna say a dollar amount. I say that we should have been working on this to get it resolved.
They
It's,
thought it was, when I talked to Dan and Joan, they thought this was all taken care of a long time ago. They didn't know that they never, the town never paid us.
Well, the town was never legally obligated to because it never came back to council. In that same, when it went down that night, it was supposed to come back to council. It has never come back in a form of an ordinance.
My question of this whole thing, and it has been all along, and I'm not trying to ruffle feathers, okay? Who made the promise that we were gonna pay you? Who made the promise?
It was the the whole council unanimously voted for it.
They voted no.
And they
The-
just
the
said
only-
they voted no.
The only thing unanimous was to bypass or suspend the 3 readings.
That's all it was. The rest is an all-nay vote. So who made the initial promise that this village was gonna pay for that?
We had a meeting just like this and everybody agreed to it.
I just can't understand why it's just been left. I assumed it had been solved. I mean,
Well-
and
Well, I
it's my
think-
fault that I haven't been attending council meetings, but I assumed it had been solved and it was going forward.
Well, I think Beth has been working extremely hard to try to get our finances balanced so that we're not in the negative 80,000 or whatever.
We
She's-
finished 11,000 to the plus last year,
And
and we're
so,
on track to be on the plus this year.
so that's what she's been working on. That's the goal, was to keep the village here financially stable. And now this comes up and, you know, we can't just throw all that out the window. She's worked really hard to get us balanced. And so did we offer? Yes, we've offered something that we could do, but it just kind of gets tabled. So I'm not sure we're not the ones that are trying to work together here.
I think we've worked with, we're trying to work within the limits that we have, which is our financial limits. I was in on that mediation, I felt we offered a good amount based on, I mean, that we didn't even have a vote that we needed to, that it was always a nay vote from what was brought to council. So I think in good faith, we were trying to work together with you. Can we go more? I don't know that we can without endangering our position here as a village. We don't want to have to put something on the millage either, or a levy of some sort. We're trying to be fiscally responsible to the community as well. I think that's something maybe that the township should reconsider, because I think we gave as
Isn't-
good an
isn't what we-
offer as we
Isn't what we
could.
agreed on at all.
But
It's a slap in the face is what it is, but.
see, and I kind of feel the same way in return, because that was voted down in 2011. That was August.
Joe, I've been to the meetings every January, didn't go to last January, because we met with you last December. We told you what the deal was. And in January, I brought up that they still owed us $211,000, and everybody, okay, as soon as we get the water treatment plant paid off, we have some extra money. And when I seen that happen, and we still didn't get anything, then I told the other guys that we're not in line to get anything, so.
Which just as, I'm gonna go back to something Joan said, which she said we thought it was taken care of. Well, they took care of it by voting no. And with it not coming back, there's nothing else to take care of. Their last word was no. Yes, do I think it was talked about? Do I think somewhere someone said, yes, this is what we need to do? Absolutely. But you know as a trustee, nothing can happen without these 6 chairs voting yes or no. And these 6 chairs, these people weren't here, said no. And it hasn't come back.
I've been a trustee for 25 years, Russell's been a trustee for 29 years, and the town's always provided the building, and we provided the salaries and the equipment and the upkeep, and when this opportunity came, Gary St. John came to us, actually, Kurt Eicher's the one that started it, and said, hey, this is a good place down here, and it was a perfect place, and we had to go through, Gary wanted to do a feasibility study to see where the fire department should be, so that cost us $5,000, split between town and us,
Yes.
and it turned out it needed to be in town, which everybody knew anyway. But
Yeah, wasn't it just south of, I mean,
that's
really
where
close.
That's where we wanted it, on the south corner of the ground that town owns. And, well, it wasn't developed ground, so it's gonna need water and sewer, it's gonna be over $1 million, and so that's out of the question. But
Is that why that one went out?
Yeah.
I never knew why it went out, other than that was,
And even, well, you've seen what Florence Township did, they spent $1.3 million on a new building and stuff, and it's nice and everything, but, we thought we were working together with the village, and,
Well, it was using a building that was already there.
yeah.
oh, it's a great location.
Yeah,
It's a
perfect.
great location.
Perfect. The purchase price was, this was in August of 2013, was
317.
$392,000 total for, it was 2011 was what he wanted for the building, but then the township spent like $181,000 for upgrading it. That equals the 392.
Did you guys have more money put in than the original 317? That was from Farmers and
300.
Merchant?
It was 300, yeah, we put down $75,000
Okay.
down, yeah.
Okay. It just didn't show this. What this is a copy of the financial statements from 2012 and 13 to December 31st. These would be your guys's.
Yeah,
So that was, okay.
yeah.
Sorry, I just wanted to clarify. Just keep going.
No, anyway, I don't know where I was going with that, I'm just trying to give you a little history there, but it's always been, well, and in fact, there's contracts all the way up to when, from back in the 60s all the way to when Jim White was mayor, and contracts weren't renewed for some reason or another, but the village still provided us with the building and things, and when we got this opportunity, and Gary, when this all came together, it sounded like a good opportunity, but we didn't plan on buying the whole building ourselves, that wasn't the plan.
But I guess my question on that would be, if it was voted down in 2011, why was it 2 years later, when you purchased it, that nothing came back to the village?
Because we were working on it for 2 years. See, we didn't get the loan till August of 13. We were buying it. We set a price with Harley for the price, purchase price is $211. And like I said, we spent $181,000 revamping it to make it work for everything. That's why it didn't come back for 2 years, because we didn't really have the full price.
So you guys, what do you mean by working on it? You were working on the deal with the village, or you were working on the building to get
On
it
the building,
upgraded?
on the building itself.
I just want to add something. You know, I've been the chief since 2010, and I can honestly say that I've kind of been following this, you know, since that time, so I think I do have a little bit of a dog in this fight. And I'll say, Steve, that, you know, when Harley owned that building, he said that he will never sell that building to this village as long as Gary St. John is the village administrator, because of personal feelings. And because Gary brought up, if you're gonna do the upgrades to the building, it has to be under prevailing wage. And I know for a fact, Harley said, I am not paying prevailing wage to have these upgrades done to that building. He's gonna do them himself. Okay? And that was probably part of the council's rejecting that initial offer, because the fact of the matter is you probably had 6 people, and maybe even 7, including the mayor, saying, you know what, Steve, trustees, we'd love to be able to help you out. And I think that's what you're going off of. And that's what Joan and Dan are saying, is that, yeah, they probably did make an agreement, a verbal agreement. But you know as well as anybody does, you've been in this profession, in government, for a long time. You know that nothing can get done without it being on paper in ordinance fashion, and the council voting on it. And that wasn't done. It was done, but it was not passed. That's where we're at. And that's why you have the problems that we're having now. And you're not gonna get anywhere with it, because it's not gonna get passed.
One of the things that I truly hope, and Alan could attest to this, when this started getting a little muddy here a while back, one of the things that I stressed to him was, make sure that we are still working with the township. I don't want there to be a divide.
Yeah.
I made it a point to tell him, I do not want something different than what you've been doing. as far as working together.
We've been working together good.
And I want that to continue, because just like Joan mentioned, and I truly believe Dan thinks the same thing, we're a small community that needs to work together. And I think, in my opinion only, that with giving the services that we do, the free water, the internet, the trash, I think we're up to 40 some of the extra connectors that the village purchased. So the village is doing little things for the fire department that are not required at all, because village residents already pay the millage for that protection.
There's an advantage to having the fire department in town, though, I mean, that's the reason. That's-
Absolutely there is, but it's also the township's responsibility to cover us.
Yes.
Have you thought about a millage that makes everybody?
We're not going there, yeah.
On your financials, it says that if you would need to, you would put millage on. This is from your financials.
If we get in that spot, we will, but we're not.
Because right now, you're really asking the residents to pay above and beyond what they're required to, but those outside of the village, you're not asking for the same thing. Do we want a sour relationship between the village and the township? The answer to that is no, definitely no. However, it never came back. So that's what I base things off of. I can't base it off of my opinions. It's just what the papers say. And if you want to look at financials, you guys, I think, have it through the mediation, or you can get a copy. If not, we can give it to you. But that is open. That is open for people to see. We are not rolling in dough. Are we okay? We're better.
What do you think the solution is for this situation?
I tried to stretch it out, the number of years of the loan, and offered a small amount of what the village could afford out of the general fund for right now. And I was told just recently, you said that was a slap in the face. I tried to do what I could because I want a working relationship. It
Joan, were you
wasn't supposed to be an insult, I was offering,
Joan, were you
What I
in
could.
with that mediation? I know there was some. Were you there? Dan, were you in on
We
that?
were both
You
there.
were both? That was not something, and I think there was 3 of us there, so it was 4 with our solicitor. That wasn't something that I could just dream up. It's not something any one of us could do. It had to be as a group. And the other thing, even though that came to you guys, it still wasn't final until it was proposed to these guys, where they had to vote on it. Were they aware of it? Absolutely. I came back and talked to them about it. Yes. So were they aware? Was it a decent amount for what we had? I thought so. I thought so, without putting the village at risk. And that is one thing I can't do. I can't do. So if you guys want copies of that, she'll get them for you. She will have them. Can you have them for them tomorrow? If they want them?
yeah, I gave them all to the meeting.
Okay. So if you guys want to look at that stuff,
I
more
mean, I
than
have to
welcome.
dig them, I didn't make copies of what I gave him, I'll have to
I have
put
them.
them back up.
I have them.
Yeah, she
So,
has
so
them.
my concern is, right now, it was voted no. And that was the last thing that we can go off of.
I do wanna say one more thing, you brought up that Gary retired and we didn't replace him, Mel took his spot, we paid off that loan. You have to understand governmental accounting, which I think is part of the problem, is the past administration may not have gotten the things true. Like I said, you would've had to have ownership to give the money back then, in the fund that you had the money in, and you didn't have ownership. The second thing with Gary, he was paid a lot out of that fund where you, capital projects, and our loan was out of sewer. I can't take sewer money and move to the general fund. To give money, you have to have it in your general fund. We did not gain a bunch of money from Gary's retirement in the general fund, or the loan being paid off in the general fund. We just didn't. That's not where the loan was, that's not where Gary was paid from.
I just think it's very poor, well, not just PR, but the village and the fire department. We gotta have a fire department, or we're gonna, I mean, people are really gonna squawk with their insurances. I really don't think John Doe on the street has any idea what his fire insurance or his insurances would be if there isn't a fire department. And having it in the village is to the village's advantage than if it would have been out in the country. So we have, we have this, and this building came up, the building was vacant. It was a big mess. I mean, if you've dealt with Harley, and I've dealt with Harley for years. I was on council for 30 years. I understand dealing with Harley. But you gotta work something out. It's gotta be worked out between the village and the trustees and the community. The fire department is for the benefit of this Stryker community.
It is.
And the township.
Absolutely. And the thing is, though, we have to do it across the board. It can't just be a certain group of people paying. We're expected to pay more. It needs to be across the board. And currently, it's across the board with 2 mills, whether you're inside or outside the village. It's across the board. Any, keep going.
I'm good.
Okay, okay. So just to clarify, that what do I want to say? That last item that we sent to you guys at mediation, you canceled, or that is being declined?
I guess I better not speak for the other two.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I'm gonna ask the solicitor, that typically goes back to the mediator for the
The
approval or declining?
offer that the village made to try to resolve this matter between the parties without having any litigation involved was offered, and the mediator did ask us to hold our position, so we are holding with that offer, but from what I understand, the trustees don't want to accept that offer, so. At this time, they'll have to let the mediator know, and then the mediator will tell us, well, then we're at a stalemate, and the option is to go to litigation. But that offer is still out there. He asked us to hold our position, so I feel like the village worked really hard at trying to do something that was feasible within its limits.
I mean, you may have discussed it before I came in, but basketball got in the way. No, did you guys have any kind of a plan back in the day? Like, I mean, I know it got voted down, but was there anything that was being thrown around back then about purchasing any of the building or how you're gonna pay for it back then?
There wasn't any discussion on how we was gonna pay for it.
Okay.
But I do know that I made the announcement to try to maybe like go for $50,000 for 4 years. And just an idea if they would accept something like that, but how the money was gonna come about to pay that kind of money, it was never discussed.
That was just kind of a goal.
But it was just something that I just threw out there to see if that was available, because we knew that we didn't have $211,000 just to write a check and be done with it.
We had it set up for 4 payments of 52,000 apiece is what it was.
What it was.
Yeah.
Why was the decision made to move?
Pardon?
Some of you may have to bring me up to speed, because I was off council on fire at this time when this all happened. Why was the decision made to move?
Because Gary, they was either gonna have to build a building, they wanted this building because it was right here, and he asked us if we could find another place to go, and that's when we started looking and done that feasibility study, and yeah, a couple of places we looked at, the old fertilizer plant down there along the railroad track, and someplace else.
But Buchanan's property, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think that
On the
was
corner there.
Was some of that because I know I've heard the story of Gary wanting the building for the village, but I also heard with that you guys were growing as well, and there was some upgrades that was gonna need done with the particulate filters, some heat or something. Was that, okay. I figured I'd ask since you're right here.
Well, I don't think the one truck was gonna fit in there, was it?
I don't know.
I believe the new fire truck wasn't gonna fit in that building.
See, I thought it was something with equipment, this wasn't going to meet the needs.
Right.
Full needs any longer.
Without changing the doors or something, if I remember right. I think that they was gonna have to change the one door because it was a lot higher. And then.
I don't think so, because we took 2 years to do this project, and they had to put it someplace, so it had to be inside somewhere, and it didn't set out, so I don't think that was the problem.
I know it didn't set out.
Yeah.
Okay.
'Cause that truck was donated, wasn't it? Didn't it come from Toledo or Swan or someplace?
Well,
Nothing's
the
free.
truck I thought he was talking about is the one that Bob Sperling got for the grant, that tanker.
That didn't be, it could be,
Yeah, the vehicles get larger and larger every year,
Yeah.
and more costly, absolutely.
I know way back when, the building that we have out behind here, they often talked about we could add on to that building for, for the town to use. But that really wasn't a solution for anything. And that was way back, well, when Dwayne Millman was still on council. It just, it really was it would have been a building, but it wouldn't have been,
Would have been a roof. Okay.
Well, I don't think anybody here, again, is opposed. If we had the finances to do something more, we certainly, I think, would all agree that we would like to do that. It's not a matter of that at all. I think it all comes down to the village doesn't have the funds to provide what you're asking. I mean, I don't know if I can say this, just, if you look at our financials, last year was the first year we've been in the black in several years, and we were only 11,000 plus in the black. That's, 50,000, we couldn't even squeeze that out of that, so,
When we were talking this deal, there was never no trouble with money. That it was supposedly there, and
It was.
I don't know what
It's
happened.
never been there.
Not this Beth, but the other Beth did something. I don't know what happened there, but
Well, the nice thing about that is we have documentation to show you that it really wasn't there,
yeah.
and that's not something she can doctor. That she can't hide it. So she can show you all of that. Even though when I came on council and both of you guys were there, we were sitting pretty good. No, we weren't. Not as good as I thought we were. And that's a sign of the times. Everyone had to start really pulling in the belt.
so what do you have as an idea for a solution to this situation?
We went to mediation and made an offer. It's obvious that it's not something that was liked, but as of right now, just waiting on that final response. Did we offer to do something? Yes. I think by us, I don't remember when it was, a couple years ago when we started doing the free water.
That was when we complained that we wasn't getting anything. They gave us the water and sewer.
Which, it's something.
Yeah,
It's something.
better than nothing.
Absolutely. As well as the internet, as well as the hydrant, some of those fittings. We're working with them. It's not we don't want any part of it unless we have a fire. It's not like that.
We just had to put a new heating system in, $6,800, and guy in town did it locally, so.
Is the problem just the building well, or, if it is, I look at it like us offering, that's a Band-Aid, but what's the permanent fix if the department is financially in trouble? Are you gonna look at putting a millage on?
If we have to, we will, but we're not looking at that. We'll get by, we'll figure a way, we just make do with what we got. Right now, they can't buy a box of Band-Aids without coming to us, we're not real happy, but we'll get by,
Now, if I remember right, the offer was like after 3 years, we'd review it again. So, it's not like a 3-year, I know it's kind of a promise again. I know you probably don't like that. You'd rather have something in writing, but at least it's something where after 3 years, if we're still in the black, there's still potential to get to where I mean, where everybody's happy, I guess.
The reason for the renewal, or to look at it every so many years for a renewal, is because we can't predict what the financials of the village are going to be. So we couldn't tie our hands and say, here, we're gonna give you money, and then us go and say, that's what the 3 years was looking at. So,
I guess I mean, it's been said, I don't know, back and forth all night long. There is a misconception out there that we're blowing you guys off. When in reality, we all know, sitting here, we've made offers. We've done what we can to help for now. As Joe stated, do we feel we should do more? Maybe we do. But there is no money, there never was any money, there isn't now, and there isn't gonna be in the foreseeable future. I'm sorry, but we're trying to help you out as best we can. And it doesn't help, you all know it, with Farrell going out, we lost a major player there. Things like that all play into it. We have made offers. And there's one on the table right now.
anyone else from council have any questions for any one of the three?
I got a question listening to this. Is there a way for the collect a 1% extra tax here in the village to help get this job done? Is that possible?
We can't millage or levy a tax for the fire department. We're two separate taxing entities. It would have to be Springfield Township would levy millage to operate the fire department. Unless we want to become a joint fire department, which would be 2 council members, or 2 members of this board and 2 members of your board, and the millage would come to that joint entity to decide how to run the fire department.
Well, I just throwed it out there for a way to,
Yeah, we can't do a tax to give to their fire
well,
department.
see, I
Can there be a
don't,
tax across the board that they put on that we would say it's 1%? Just use your example. Could they put something out there for 1% and we pay it? Absolutely. But so are the ones outside the village, inside of the township, yes. So could it be done that way? Yes, but he's stating that that's not something they really want to do, which, thank you for not wanting to raise taxes.
We got school to pay for first.
So, anyone else from council? And then, the 3 guests, anything for you guys, anything more you wanna add?
I'm fine.
Okay.
Thanks
I'm
for your
done.
time.
All right, thanks for coming, thanks for the conversation.
Thanks, folks.
Okay, that's going to run us into, looking for a motion to approve the prior minutes from 11/12 of 2018, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of 11/12.
I didn't have my hand. Thank
Is
you.
there a second?
I'll second.
Thanks again for coming.
Thanks, Joey.
And roll call.
Overland,
Yes.
Tompkins,
Yes.
Armstrong,
Yes.
Cameron,
Yes.
Ben,
Yes.
Levin.
Yes.
Looking for a motion to pass the finance report as of 12/14/2018, is there a motion?
I make a motion to pass the finance report.
And is there a second? Before we do the roll call, any questions for Beth on the financials? That was in your packet? Okay, and then Beth, did you have anything that you wanted to point out in those finances?
Just I kind of gave you a summary since it's the last end of year deal. I thought instead of reading it, I'd just type it. But basically from last meeting to this meeting, we brought in 134,000, but we spent 141,000. And so we were in the black with, but we had a lot of dues come in, like annual permit for the water plant, permit for the sewer plant, the things that you only pay at the end of the year. So, but we're looking to finish the year good. Hoping to, as long as nothing drastic happens. So, That's it, unless you have questions for me.
Okay, roll call to pass the finance report for 12/14/2018.
Tompkins,
Yes.
Armstrong,
Yes.
Cameron,
Yes.
Benner,
Yes.
Levens,
Yes.
Overly.
Yes.
That goes into our communication, which, did you pass that to everyone, or was that just on mine, the Wedco? You wanna talk about that since it's
I
yours?
just gave it to you.
Well, you talk about it, because I'm doing it from reading, you're doing it from being there.
Oh, this is just, your seat, this is for you, Joey. This-
That's the seats.
Yeah.
Did you have anything on talking about
Oh,
the February?
Matt and Megan, the Wedco representatives, contacted me and they said they're going around to each entity just to kind of speak and, give an overview of what they're doing. And they asked when would be a good time, and I told them, well, January we reorganize. So, they wanted to be on the agenda for February. So, you'll see them in February.
Then committee reports, didn't have any of the old business, I don't believe, unless you wanna talk about the railroad, or are you gonna talk about that later? Later, okay. Then that takes us into legislation, which is ordinance number 2018-07, looking to suspend the rules. Is there a motion to suspend the rules?
I make a motion to suspend the rules of ordinance 2018-07 for annual appropriation.
Is there a second?
I'll second that, go ahead. I'll second it.
Okay. And a roll call to suspend?
Armstrong,
Yeah.
Cameron,
Yes.
Benner,
Yes.
Levin,
Yes.
Overland,
Yes.
Tompkins.
Yes.
Looking for a motion to pass ordinance 2018 tax 07, tax 2019. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to pass ordinance 2018-07, 2019.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, before we do the vote on that, any questions on that? For Beth? And Beth, did you have any that you wanted to?
Just note that this, I gave you the Excel breakdown of every line. This is the condensed version of this. Just so you know.
Okay, and roll call.
Cameron,
Yes.
Benner,
Yes.
Levins,
Yes.
Overland,
Yes.
Tompkins,
Yes.
Armstrong.
Yeah.
Okay, looking to do the same thing, suspend the rules for ordinance number 2018 tax 08, tax 2019 payroll ordinance. Is there a motion?
Motion to suspend?
Is there a second? Yep.
Okay.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
And roll call.
Benner,
Yes.
Levins,
Yes.
Overland,
Yes.
Tompkins,
Yes.
Armstrong,
Yeah.
Cameron.
Yes.
Okay, looking for a motion to pass ordinance 2018 tax 08, tax 2019. Is there a motion?
Move to pass ordinance 2018-08.
We're just fried with all these numbers tonight.
Yes.
One of those.
I'll
And
second that.
Second.
Just figure out where
Sorry.
we're gonna do something.
Yeah. Is there any questions for Beth on that one before we vote to pass? Okay, and roll call.
Levins,
Yes.
Overland,
Yes.
Tompkins,
Yes.
Armstrong,
Yes.
Cameron,
Yes.
Benner.
Yes.
Okay, looking for a motion to pass resolution 12, TAC 2018, TAC 07. Is there a motion?
We did payroll ordinance.
Can we discuss before or after?
I'll open it up for discussion. That way, we're just looking to get the motion, a first and a second, and then we'll discuss, and then we'll vote. So looking for a motion to pass?
Make a motion to pass resolution 12-2018-07.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any questions?
Just specifically, where is it? Is it,
For the tank, they're going
For the
to.
propane station out there.
North side.
oh, okay,
They used to extract their LPs right
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Any,
There is actually a restriction on that there are only certain uses because of our,
well, proximity to the well.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, roll call.
this was just a motion to suspend, correct? We have to suspend and then pass.
We did not
Yeah.
look to suspend.
We need to suspend, sorry.
Okay, so let's go ahead and retract that. We are looking for a motion to suspend resolutions 12-2018-07. Is there a motion to suspend?
Motion to suspend resolution 12-2018-07.
Okay, is there a second?
And I will second again.
Okay,
Thank you.
and roll call to suspend?
Oberlin,
Yes.
Tompkins?
Yes.
Armstrong?
Yes.
Cameron? Yes. Bennett?
Yes.
Blevins?
Yes.
Okay, looking for a motion to pass resolutions 12-2018-07.
Make a motion to pass 12-2018-7.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any questions before we vote? Even though we've already answered them, but we'll be official. Any questions on it? All right, roll call.
Tompkins?
Yes.
Armstrong? Cameron? Yes. Bennett?
Yes.
Blevins?
Yes.
Oberlin?
Yes.
Okay, village officials.
We had a pre-construction meeting on the water line under the railroad on November 21st with the contractor and the engineers, and everything went well. The contractor is on board to begin work. Just waiting on, actually found out today, he's waiting on the railroad to schedule. They have to hire a flagger to be out there for trains. So while they're doing the work, so that's the holdup on that.
So a flagger's gonna stop a train?
Evidently, I don't know.
Nice.
Stand in front of it.
It's the railroad, so.
It should stop in Archibald then. We see the flag.
Yeah. So one of these days, they
It's
will
coming?
begin, yes. Not right away.
Good.
Last week, I went to a county EMA mitigation meeting to discuss the handling of natural disasters within the county. And they basically had questions for us as a village, you know, what we have generators and how we handle a command station and that kind of thing. So that's being set up by the county. That's about all I really know. Why don't you know any more? Okay.
It was just required for FEMA money.
Right.
We had to be involved in it. Correct.
Yeah, if we wanted any type of benefit from it, someone from here had to be there.
And the leaf pickup is finished. If anyone has leaves to pick up, you can bring them to the compost dumpster until December 31st. And then the dumpster will be removed for the rest of the remainder of the winter.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Any questions for administrator? Okay. Chief?
All right. Well, I wanted to, I don't know if we got a proper introduction for Logan, but Logan Clevidence, he's going to the academy out of Northwest State. He's just here on a visit. No school for, well, I guess you're off on Christmas break, so he's just up here hanging out with the cool kids, and right?
Of course.
Right? And so.
He's gonna tell his boss.
So yeah, looking forward to getting him graduated and all tested up and getting him out on the road. So, you know, honestly, there wasn't a whole lot, you know, of bullet points for the council brief. I guess the I guess the biggest thing was it was another busy month. 86 total complaints, 26 traffic warnings, 4 traffic citations, and 4 adult arrests. Yeah, I mean, it was, seems like we've gone in an upspurt here the last 3 or 4 months, and guys are working hard. We had a situation on Thursday night where it was kind of a, I wouldn't call it a domestic issue, but kind of an individual was chasing around her baby's daddy, who was with his girlfriend, and he hit the skids, and she hit him in her car she hit his truck with her car, and he fled the scene because he thought that his girlfriend had warrants, and they ended up going through the cemetery on foot. He fled the scene on foot. Ended up going through the cemetery and jumped in the river at around 11 p.m. Sounds like his girlfriend lost consciousness in the river. He ended up pulling her out, and Rob Roserock ended up calling it in, saw them out on the golf course. So we're probably, I don't know if they went across the tees or the greens or anything, but hopefully they weren't frozen.
Yesterday.
Hopefully they weren't frozen, didn't damage the greens, but but yeah, Rob ended up calling them in, and JR was called in early to assist, and we ended up getting, how many, what all guns?
Seven stolen guns and over a pound of marijuana.
Right. Yeah, so, but yeah, so which kind of, led us into a lot, well, not a lot of overtime, but a lot of paperwork, officers getting called, officers staying late, Ben Sedor staying late, just getting things squared away. So we're gonna be giving those two a day or so off to make up for the overtime, and then we'll be getting some part-timers in. And they chose to take days off, and not overtime. No, I did not have a say in that matter. I gave them the opportunity.
He gave me the choice of whether I wanted overtime or comp, and I said comp it.
But yeah, they did a great job, and that was actually sent over to the prosecutor today on short notice, for that matter, because the grand jury is tomorrow, and he'll also be presenting at the grand jury tomorrow to get him indicted. So, good work all around, no doubt about it. So, any questions as far as the monthly stats go, or anything like that? Okay, so what I am going to ask now is I would like to go into executive session to discuss personnel and the discipline of personnel, if I could. And that would just be with the council. You two will have to vacate, but I would like to do that right now. It won't be long.
I'll make a motion to go into executive.
I'll second it.
For discussion.
Discipline.
You have to say a reason, not just.
Yeah, just shut that door, guys.
And then grab the camera. You're good, baby. Nope, you're good.
You can stay though. I don't have a
If you
problem
want to
with
stay, that's fine, or if you want to go
it.
ahead.
He knows all about it.
Armstrong? Cameron?
Yes.
Fenner?
Yes.
Lovins?
Yes.
Oberlin?
Yes.
Tompkins?
Yes.
Did you get that?
No.
Yeah, if you want.
As long as we don't, we can go,
Okay, here.
4 shifts
You're
here, 3 shifts.
Okay, look for a motion to come out of executive session. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to come out of the executive session.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
And a roll call?
Cameron?
Yes.
Fenner?
Yes.
Lovins?
Yes.
Oberlin?
Yes.
Tompkins? Yes. Armstrong?
Chief, you want to discuss a little bit about what we're looking at in the January, February timeframe for that unknown amount of time. You wanna share a little bit about that now?
As far as,
How we're covering, some absent? You wanna talk about that, or you wanna wait later? You're good? Okay. That leads us into the other. I will start on my left. Ladies first. Anything under other?
The only thing I was just wondering about if next year, if we're looking at any grant type things, I know we have the boat ramp in Oakland, but I was wondering if maybe, if we've ever talked about a bicycle trail, something like that, for Stryker, we need something like that.
Matter of fact, I've been emailing back and forth with Beth.
I have an application I started on.
So it is in the works.
Oh, that's good, okay. Other than that, I did attempt the caroling and such for this month, but sadly and unfortunately, I didn't get a lot of response.
Okay.
I think maybe if we do it next year, we may have to start earlier looking at, groups and such, maybe into the 1st of November perhaps, rather than later. Because I think most everybody's kind of booked up and got their own thing going at that point, so. I like the idea, but unfortunately, it didn't come together for this year, so.
I'm good.
Nothing.
I'm good.
Okay. One last time, anything, Beth? Chief? Solicitor?
Thank you.
All right, need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Carries passed.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Yep, have a good Christmas. Baby, it's cold outside.